What's up, YouTube? Today we're looking at the Scroll Cup once again, and the team we're taking a look at today is Gastrodon, Zweilous, and Brionne. Now the main focus of today's video is of course going to be Brionne, because Brionne is the best charmer in this entire cup, and that is for a good reason. It is the only Pokemon that runs Charm that isn't weak to Charm itself. You'll notice Gallade actually opting for Confusion over Brionne, the non-Shadow, but the Shadow does run Charm, but Brionne is actually ranked higher than the Shadow that does run Charm, and both Meowscarada and Gallade take super effective damage from Charm themselves, as well as Leopard. So that is why Brionne is so strong. Charm is so strong in this cup because it's a 3-typing cup, and Fairy hits both Dark and Fighting for super effective damage, and it's neutral into the waters, and Brionne is a mono water type, so it resists all the water type damage as well, and that is why this Pokemon is so strong. It was super strong last time around, it's super strong this time around, so without further ado, let's hop into these battles. Heading into the first match, we got Gastrodon on the lead into a Palkia. Now this is a very neutral matchup, but the opponent will be able to outpace me to the first charge move. An Aqua Tail would do pretty big damage from a Shadow Palkia, so I'm actually going to respect this with a shield. Usually this isn't how I would want to play out these matchups, as I do want to save most of my shield for Brionne. However, I can now go for a Body Slam. Body Slam will grab a shield from my opponent, and now in comes Zweilous. Zweilous looking for the Dragon Breath Snipe. I don't get it, but that means this will be a resisted Aqua Tail that does land, and that is okay by me. We end up luring out a Primeape, but Primeape will be hit with a Body Slam before they can get to that Rage Fist. Rage Fist is resisted in this matchup, so they will have to go for a harder charge move, or they can look to connect with the Rage Fist immediately and then go for a Karate Chop Farm Down. And it looks like my opponent will opt for the latter. They get that Karate Chop Farm Down, but I have a Brionne in the back, so Brionne's going to come in, charm down this Pokemon. I know I can live one Rage Fist here, and that's all they have the energy for, so I will let this go. One more charm does pick up the knockout. Is my opponent triple weak to charm? Yes, they are. So now in comes a Malamar. They go for the catch. Their catch is unsuccessful, and then they throw on alignment, and that is absolutely huge because the pacing of charm to both Dursommering Voice and Aqua Jet this season is even quicker. All I really need to do though is grab the final shield from my opponent, because now I can come in with a Gastrodon, combo play with the Body Slam, and Body Slam, while it will not be enough to knock out the Malamar, it's going to put them into Mud Slap Farm Down range. The opponent will fire off some energy. They have to full send a superpower to pick up the knockout here, but they just go for the foul fight. It's not enough to knock out. The opponent resigns the match, and we are able to take a Game 1 win. Into the next matchup, we've got Gastrodon into Breloom, and we are absolutely core broken because this is a grass type Pokemon with fighting type fast move coverage, and that is really bad for us because Zweilous takes super effective damage from fighting, and Gastrodon is completely screwed against grass type as Mud Slap is resisted and Water Pulse is resisted, and they have double super effective Seed Bomb. So what I end up doing is I go for a catch on my Zweilous. I get that Seed Bomb catch where it is resisted, but I end up luring out a Pawniard, and my opponent is triple hard countering me so far. Or I should say double hard countering me so far, because I don't yet know what is in the back. I will be able to connect with a Water Pulse to pick up the knockout on the Pawniard, but back in comes the Breloom. Breloom looking to get to another Seed Bomb. They will get there, but not before I get that full Charm Farm Down, so I can just commit a shield here. Seed Bomb will get the final shield, and in the back is a Lantern, so my opponent actually triple hard counters me. I am going to go for the Aqua Jet bait here, as the opponent has 2 shields left in play, but they actually call the bait, which is absolutely ridiculous. It seems like there is no way out of this game, but I've got news for you. Here comes Aqua Jet, number 2. The opponent lets that one go as well, and now they're in a range where Mud Slap will be enough to knock them out. The opponent looking to farm up to back-to-back surfs to pick up the knockout on the Gastrodon, but I get to a Body Slam first. That grabs a shield from my opponent, and I still have a shield left in play as well, so I will be putting up a shield. Surf number 1 grabs that final shield. They're already at Surf number 2, and somehow they deny my Mud Slap as well. However, Surf is not enough to knock out the bulky Gastrodon. One more Mud Slap does the job, and somehow, despite triple hard counter, we are able to take that win. Finally, a great lead for Gastrodon in the next match, and the opponent going to safe switch into a Feraligatr, and now in comes Brionne. Now you might be wondering, why did I come in with Brionne here instead of my Zweilous? And the reason is because I don't really need my Brionne, whereas if my opponent wants to flip switch here, I'm fine with having my Zweilous on the lead there. So coming in with Brionne, I end up grabbing a shield from my opponent with an Aqua Jet bait, and now they're going to like to connect with a Hydro Cannon as soon as they get there. And that is okay by me, because I should be able to outpace the opponent now to a Body Slam. That's exactly what's going to happen. Body Slam from this range should be enough to knock out the non-Shadow short for alligator, and it does. And in the back, my opponent has a Gastrodon of their own, but that is okay by me because I can now full send a water pulse. This will do some pretty significant damage, and the opponent lets it go because they are still a shield down. And now I have a 2 shields Zweilous against a Lantern, which is completely walled. So I am just going to stay in this matchup. They end up going for a body slam bait. I end up letting that go, and now they will finally pick up the knockout of my Gastrodon with a body slam. But now in comes Zweilous. The opponent now is completely walled. Both Spark, the Spark, the Surf, and the Thunderbolt are all resisted, and yet the opponent is staying in this matchup. You'll notice that I'm opting for Dragon Pulse on the Zweilous over Dark Pulse, and that's just because of all like the Dark Flyers and all the Dark types that have that neutral Dragon Pulse coverage is really nice. Of course, this does mean you're walled into steals, like things like Empoleon, but that is why we have a Gastrodon in the lead, and if you end up baiting a Empoleon out with your Zweilous, then you can punish with the Gastrodon and Brionne can roam free. The opponent is still playing out this matchup. I'm just going to go for a 2 shield flex at this point because I know I can live all that fast and charge move. I will now be able to make it to a body slam. Body slam picks up the knockout on the Lantern, and we are able to take a 2 shield flex. In tonight's matchup, we've got Gastrodon into Azumarill. Now, this is a pretty neutral matchup, but it would be better if we were on Earth Power. Earth Power is the recommended moveset in this league for the Gastrodon. However, I didn't feel like wasting a TM and putting it over to Earth Power, only to just switch it back to Earthquake over and over and over, and then to Earth Power, and then to Earthquake, and then to Earth Power. You get the idea. I'm low on DMs. I don't want to waste them when I don't need to. So this is a neutral enough matchup, and we will have Water Pulse coverage for any flyers that do come in against the Gastrodon. I am able to connect with a body slam against the Azumarill. It does put them very low, and I'm hoping that's double resisted Dragon Breath farm down range, and that is what I'm going to go for. In comes Zweilous, resisting the bubbles. Can we get that full farm down? It's going to be close. We just can't get there. The double resisted fast moves and the bulk on Azumarill forces me to throw my energy. Body slam does pick up the knockout. We leave with a little bit of residual energy, so I bank a body slam, and now in comes Brionne, and in the back is a team double weak to Fairy in the back, and that is absolutely huge. They end up only farming up to the Psychic Fangs, so I do end up just letting that go, and now I can just look for a full charm farm down, leaving with loads of energy, and I will be able to grab a shield for my opponent with a Disarming Voice. And once I grab that shield, this game is pretty much over because I should be able to outpace the opponent to 2 body slams before they're able to get to 3 swifts. Both of them are 35 energy, and they do have a slight energy lead here, but I have a shield advantage, and that is what is going to really come in clutch in this matchup. They're already at the back-to-back swifts, and I will put up a shield for both, but I just don't think they can get to a third before I double up on this body slam. So now here comes body slam number 1. Kingdra would win CMP in this matchup, I believe. However, I am at body slam number 2, and the opponent does not have the energy for a 3rd swift. So body slam, after a little bit of time, because the opponent has force closed their app, will be able to connect and pick up the knockout on the Kingdra, and we are able to take that win. Into the next matchup, we've got Gastrodon into Sableye. So this is a neutral lead. Of course, Body Slam is resisted, so it does make baiting a little bit more awkward. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go for 4 Mud Slaps, wait the turn, and go for a Foul Play catch on my Zweilous. And we do end up getting that catch. That is absolutely massive, but the opponent is going to rebank that Foul Play, and now in comes Toxapex. Toxapex, of course, the Brine is resisted, but the Poison Jab and the Sludge Wave is what really does the damage. And most importantly for Toxapex, is immensely bulky, and it can just absorb Dragon Pulse after Dragon Pulse. Even these Dragon Breaths are doing such little damage. 2 Dragon Pulses are not enough to knock out, and they're still able to put me into a range where a Brine will knock out with their Poison Jabs. However, they full send a Sludge Wave there. That is okay. They're only going to make it to 1 charge move, and now back in comes Sableye. I will end up putting up a shield here because the opponent is already pretty low from these Mud Slaps alone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and snipe with the charm. I'm unsuccessful, but in the back is a more Pekko from my opponent, and I am going to put up a shield here actually, and the opponent will end up baiting with a Psychic Fangs, but that is okay because even with that bait, I should be able to still get that full charm farm down, and that's exactly what's going to happen. At this point, I'm just going to be committing to the fast moves. This forces the opponent to throw their energy. Foul Play does knock out, but it's too little too late for my opponent. 2 more Mud Slaps are enough to pick up the knockout on the Sableye, and we are able to take that win. Into the next matchup, picking up another neutral lead, kind of similar to the Sableye matchup where the Body Slam is double resisted here, so I can't really go for that. However, I'm actually going to stay in this matchup because I can't really catch on my Zweilous, because even if I catch a resisted Rage Fist, then they have super effective counters. So I'm forced to just stay in this matchup. I will full send a Water Pulse here in case the opponent does try and call a bait, but they do end up putting up that shield. At this point, I will probably just let the Gastrodon go down and untrust and Brionne and hope that there is no steal in the back. So in comes Brionne. Brionne will get that charm farm down. They do connect with 3 counters, which were boosted. They do some pretty solid chip, but as soon as they come in with a Kingdra, I know something is super wrong. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to catch a Swift on my Zweilous, bank that energy on my Brionne, and hope that whatever is in back is weak to the charm damage from Brionne. I am able to outpace the opponent because I did catch and sneak a Dragon Breath, and in the back for my opponent is a Kommo-o, and unfortunately for the Kommo-o, they are absolutely screwed because they are double weak to charm. Both dragon and fighting take super effective damage from charm. So look at this damage. The opponent not even going to get to a second charge move before I'm able to make it to the Disarming Voice. Disarming Voice picks up the knockout on the Kommo-o, and we are able to take that win. Into the next matchup, we've got Gastrodon into Kingdra. So this is another good lead for the, or not a good lead, but another neutral lead for the Gastrodon. The opponent will actually be able to outpace me to a Swift, but Swift is non-threatening, so they have to at least farm up to the Outrage as if they're going to full send. The opponent lets that Body Slam go, but I sneak a Mud Slap in there. They end up throwing on alignment, so I will end up putting up a shield. They full send the Outrage as well, and now I can just get a full Mud Slap farm down. So that is absolutely huge for the Gastrodon. In comes a Gastrodon of their own from my opponent, and that is okay by me because I can look to connect with a Water Pulse that actually grabs a shield from my opponent, but if they commit to the farm down, I will make it to Water Pulse number 2. Water Pulse number 2 will do some very solid chip, and my Gastrodon has put in so much work into my opponent's team. In comes the Zweilous, and in the back for my opponent is a Tentacruel, so I'm just going to stay in this matchup as I need my Brionne on that other Pokemon there. So I really can't have it on a poison because Charm is resisted, Aqua Jet's resisted. It's just not a good matchup for the Brionne. They will end up going for an Acid Spray bait, believe it or not, and unfortunately for my opponent, that's just not going to do it. They make it to yet another Acid Spray. Acid Spray is not going to be enough to knock out, and I now will be able to under tap the Dragon Pulse. Dragon Pulse from this range should be enough to knock out the Tentacruel, or no, it actually isn't. The opponent hangs on. Are they going to make it to another charge move? It's going to be close. The opponent thinks not. They pivot back into their Gastrodon, but Gastrodon has the only meaningful damage left, so I am going to commit the shield, go for an Aqua Jet to immediately get rid of this Pokemon. So if they have energy on their Tentacruel, a Scald or an Acid Spray will not threaten a knockout. The opponent does not have the energy, so they get charmed down, and we are able to take that win. Another Annihilate lead in the next match, and Gastrodon is just going to stay in. The opponent save switches into a Jellicent, and we have a fantastic response in Zweilous. Now, Zweilous is a complete wall to energy from the Jellicent, so this is absolutely fantastic. Surf is resisted, Hex is resisted, Shadow Ball is resisted. The opponent ends up baiting with a Surf. They should probably just full send Shadow Ball as it is the better charge move, but I know I can live any 2 charge moves here, so I'm just going to let this go for a Dragon Pulse, and then look for a full Dragon Breath farm down so that I can leave with a little bit of energy, and that's exactly what's going to happen. I leave with a Dragon Pulse loaded, so if that Annihilate comes back in, they're either going to have to commit a shield or take huge damage from the Dragon Pulse, so my opponent ends up committing a shield. But that's okay by me because I now have alignment, and in the back for my opponent is an Azumarill. Now, Azumarill, of course, has neutral, bubbles, and Ice Beam and Play Rough all into my Gastrodon, but I need to align it here so that my Brionne can be aligned against the Annihilate. And as soon as my opponent commits a shield there, I know this is game over because 2-shield Brionne has basically 0 lose conditions left. The opponent can't really fully counter me down before I either get to a charge move or charm them down, and Bubble is resisted on the Azumarill, so they don't really have too much fast move pressure into the Brionne, whereas I have both fast move pressure and charge move pressure as they have no shields left in play. They do finally pick up the knockout with the Ice Beam. I will now go for the Disarming Voice, throwing on the Sempitite. Hopefully this is enough to knock out the bulky Azumarill, and it is. Back in comes the Annihilate, but Annihilate, desperate to make it to a charge move, it's too little too late. I can just put up a shield on the Rage Fist, and now that I've put up the shield, I can connect with an Aqua Jet, and Aqua Jet from this range, even though it isn't super effective, is enough to knock out the Annihilate, and we are able to take that win. Into the next matchup, we've got Gastrodon into Morpeko, so a great lead for the Gastrodon. For the Gastrodon. The opponent's going to safe switch into a Blastoise, and I'm going to go for 4 Mud Slaps and then catch the Hydro Cannon on the Zweilous where it is resisted. So I take the resisted rollout damages on the Gastrodon, and then I take the resisted Hydro damage on the Zweilous, and that is absolutely peak because I can just farm up so much energy in this mid game, look to connect with a Dragon Pulse to pick up the knockout, and then this should put me in a really prime position to not only maintain alignment, but even chip the Morpeko here with a Body Slam. And now, you know what? If they don't get to a charge move here, I could even full send a Dragon Pulse, but expecting the opponent to shield, I do end up going for that Seed Bomb. Going for the Body Slam. The opponent could be potentially running Seed Bomb, so if they left this matchup with a little bit of energy, they could threaten the knockout on the Gastrodon, and they do end up putting up a shield, and that is a little bit fishy. However, I put them in one Mud Slap farm down range, so I am going to come in with my Gastrodon, not able to get that Mud Slap farm down before the opponent pivots into their final Pokemon, which is a Gallespod. Now, Gallespod, of course, does have completely neutral play here with both X-Scissor and Fury Cutter. I will be forced to commit a shield here, as another X-Scissor would pick up the knockout. These Fury Cutters are really adding up. I'm now going to look to connect with a Disarming Voice. This is not stab damage, but these charms have added up quite a bit, so I'm hoping it is enough to either grab the shield or pick up the knockout. The opponent does give me that final shield, so now back in comes Gastrodon. Gastrodon has the Body Slam loaded. Body Slam, I end up caught on the Morpeko, but I would be able to outpace the opponent. So the opponent resigns the match, and we are able to take that win. Great lead in the next match. We've got Gastrodon into Empoleon. The opponent's going to save switch into a Sableye, and now in comes Zweilous. Zweilous, of course, going to resist foul play, but the opponent could be running Dazzling Gleam. However, I am going to call the bait. The opponent does bait with a foul play, and that is absolutely a huge bait call. Now I can look to connect with a Dragon Pulse, and Dragon Pulse will do massive neutral damage. The opponent is just going to let that go, so we are able to maintain switch. Back in comes the Empoleon, but Empoleon will be smacked with a Dragon Pulse as well. Now remember, this is resisted damage, but it doesn't look it on the Shadow Empoleon. The opponent is looking for a Metal Sound farm down, and they can't quite get it before I'm able to make it to a Body Slam. So now, Zweilous is either going to pick up 2 knockouts here or grab a shield from my opponent while maintaining switch, and that is absolutely huge. The opponent will be able to make it to back-to-back charge moves here, and I can let one go and then maybe catch the second on the Brionne, but no, instead, the opponent has other ideas. They pivot into their final Pokemon, which is a Ludicolo. Now, I haven't seen too many Ludicolo in this meta. It is a cool Pokemon that did get buffed this season, but it struggles into a lot of the top meta. I mean, when you think about it, it's Toxapex, it's Mandibuzz, it takes super effective damage from both, so not a position you want to be in. However, in this matchup, it is very neutral into my Brionne, and that puts me in a pretty awkward situation. I kind of just have to let this go. I'm hoping I've charmed them into a range where a Body Slam will knock out. One Weather Ball is not enough to knock out. The opponent snipes, but we end up getting a simultaneous KO, Empoleon and the Brionne, and now I'm able to come in with the Gastrodon. Gastrodon picks the knockout with a Body Slam, and we are able to take that win. And that is all of the matches I have for you today on Brionne. Brionne, of course, like I said at the beginning of this video, we've seen it in this cup before. I showcased it last time because it was so strong. And you know what? I just threw it on this team and I was like, why not? Let's give this a try. And it was an incredible run with this Pokemon. I gained like 100 elo. It's just such an easy Pokemon to run. And especially when you have good fast move pressure in combination with all of your Pokemon, Dragon Breath and Mud Slap do some pretty solid fast move pressure, as well as while also putting on some charge move pressure with the Water Pulse and the Dragon Pulse. Even the Aqua Jet and Disarming Voice can be threatening to the opponent. So yeah, that is why I like to run Brionne. It is fun for this cup. It's pretty much the only time you get to use it. And Primarina is banned, so that is why you get to use it. That said, I do want to say thank you to the expert trainer members on this channel: Benny Hemlock, Dr. Mustache, Perry G, Blue Nation, Peter Rushworth, Chompless Clips, Sons of Code, Someone Batil, Immortal Bart, and Pokemonty16, as well as an extra special thank you to the legend trainer members on this channel: Andrew Pitten, Musachu, Speedster, Fast Eddie Boss, CD Slaskus, Star Bonsai, and Eliana. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, peace!